Okay, we're up to Mishlei 15.2. Tesvav Kaf Beis. Hafer Machshavos Be'ein Sod. Hold on, I want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. Hafer Machshavos Be'ein Sod Uvrov Yoatzim Takum. Anyone?
It's like the imperative.
Yeah, it's a good question, right? Hafer, right? Hafer sounds like the imperative, but I don't know if that's. I feel like that's wrong. Yeah.
We give it a stab with like the literal translation.
Do you say stab?
Yeah.
Really? Interesting.
Give it a stab.
I thought fair is revoke.
Revoke is probably closer, right?
I was saying I was going to give it a stab.
Oh, you were going to give it a stab. I thought you said it meant stab. I was like, what? Yeah, no.
Like,
go ahead.
Nullify, right?
Yeah, nullify. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, yeah.
Nullify your thoughts without.
Yeah, I feel like there's I know people loosely translate Machshavah as thought, but I feel like there's I think we need to capture the nuance of Machshavah. Schemes is probably better. Yeah, right. So I like
designs.
Designs, yeah. The only reason I don't like designs is that I think that's like the R scroll translation for Mizimos, which is in my head. So I think plans is probably the best thing. Okay, so and what do you say, nullify?
Yeah.
Yeah. So plans, I'm gonna say are nullified. I don't know if that's grammatically correct. Be'ein sod.
Secret.
Yeah. So sod usually does mean secret, right? But you see here, actually, let's look at the BDB on. Oops, hold on a second here.
So it could also be like key.
The key?
Like foundation. That's Yesod.
That's Yesod, yeah. Counsel. Okay. I think that's the plain shot. Like Besod Kedoshim Rabbah. Counsel, yeah, just counsel. So not secret. I wonder if Sod as secret came from Rabbinic Hebrew. I guess that would be an open question in terms of is Sod ever used in biblical Hebrew? In what do you call it? In biblical Hebrew? Yeah, right. Yeah. By the way, it's something I don't know why it took me so long to notice this, but I feel like it's a very basic methodological mistake that people make in translating. Because I was realizing because yesterday I was going over the translation of the first bracha of Shemona Esrei with my my high school students, and so we were for V'konei HaKol. I gave what I did is I had multiple choices about which one they think is the best translation, and then I also gave an option for people to write stuff in. So I had creator of all, owner of all, possessor of all. Someone wrote in purchaser of all, and I'm pretty sure that koneh only means purchase in rabbinical Hebrew, and for some reason, I guess when I was learning Hebrew or even like many years after yeshiva, I think I just wasn't aware of like the distinctions. That's an important thing to like know what the distinction is. So I'm not saying that that's the case here. I'm just saying that that seems to be from BDB, it says like, let's look at one more dictionary though. Let's look at the Klein dictionary. So
maybe it was like a spy when we were on like Sodi.
Right. So, but I think the reason why we think of that as secret is because Chazal give interpretations of it. So we might be, influenced by that. Sod is counsel. Okay, so Klein dictionary says, secret council assembly or secret, related to Syriac, Svada or Suvada. Oh, what happened? Did I just click something?
Sometimes it jumps.
That's what Sfaria does. Friendly confidential speech. Sawada, he spoke in secret. Okay, fine. So unclear to me. All right. So with that, we'll go with counsel for now, unless we see someone say secret. So plans are nullified without counsel. Uvrov yuatim takum.
And with great advice.
Yeah.
Advisor.
So when you say great, what do you mean by great?
I don't know if it's abundant or.
I think abundant, right? I think abundant is. I think Rav would be great, but Rove is abundant. What do you say?
Advisors.
Yeah, advisors. Right? Yeah, I always forget if we spell advisors with an O or an E. I don't know if that's a British American thing. I don't know. I'll say advisors. Okay, takum.
Will be stood up.
Yeah, you will. Yes, there stood up in English has the wrong connotation, right?
Established.
I would say established. Yeah, I'd say established. I might even go so far as to say firmly established. But okay, all right. So let's look at the minimalist meforshim here. Sod inyan eitza shedarcha lios besod leval yivadea. Okay, so that he combines the two. Okay, so he says sod equals advice that is usually given secretly so as not to become known. Oh, sha'etzahu lemaise ki yesod lebinyan. He does say yesod. That's so weird. Okay. Or I've never ever seen Matsudas Tion say or and give two definitions. That's very rare. Okay. Or that the advice is ulamaase. That's how I would say it, but I don't know if that's just vernacular. Practical, like the foundation for a of a building. Okay, we'll keep it that way and see what happens. All right. Targum of Sadigon says Hafer is Hafaras Hamachshavos mehedar kimisas hasod. So I think kimisa here is like kamus, like hidden. I don't think it's kit misas, I think, right? So he says I like the word thwarting, by the way, instead of nullifying, because I think thwart can mean that it doesn't come to fruition. So the thwarting of plans due to a lack of concealment of the secret. So it does seem like they were going with secret so far. Maybe it is due to a lack of concealment of the secret. And with an abundance of advisors, tiskaimena, it will be established, I think, right? Umusav ala machshavos. What's going on machshavos? Yeah, I was kind of struggling with that because takum is singular, right? But you want to read the pasuk as the machshavos will be established. So I think you probably, I'm sure someone's going to say at some point, takum is a singular machshava. You know, and we see that in Mishlei Lab where it says plural in one and then the singular appropriately masculine or feminine in the other. Targum says bitula de machshavasa heich deles raza. So the nullification of a plan where there is no secret. Okay, I think raza is secret. Raz uvasuga di'ilin demismalchin itzasa takum, and in a lot ilin demismalchin, in a lot of people who you take counsel with. Eitzasa takum. So he adds in the word eitzasa. The advice will, or the plan will be established. Okay, I'm going to delete that because I think that's pretty much a shot. All right, art scroll. Thoughts are frustrated when there is no counsel, but through an abundance of counsel, they will be established. So I think frustrated here means like, again, thwarted. I don't think it means like emotionally frustrated. There's no reverse. So the Quran says, without counsel, purposes are frustrated. It's loose. But in the multitude of counselors, with two L's, they are established. Alter says, plans are thwarted when there is no counsel, but with many advisors, they are carried out. Yeah, fine. I don't think these are sufficiently different for us to like care about. So we'll delete these and then move these up here, upstairs. Okay.
But
yeah,
so what's different about our translation than all of theirs?
Oh yeah,
they were all talking about they will be established, being these machshavos.
Right, correct. Yeah, so I think we should go with that. I think that's probably the shot. So I'm going to put secret in brackets, just so we can keep it as an option, and then it will be it. I mean, let's just say they will be established. Understanding that it is plural, and that Sean's going to come up with an interpretation that says you, because that's your dare. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go with questions here.
What type of machshavos?
Yeah. What type of machshavos is this referring to? And then I'll add on to this because it's kind of part of the question is what is the connotation of machshava? Actually, let's actually hold on. Yeah, no, what's the connotation of machshava? Yeah. I'll say denotation and connotation. Denotation and connotation of machshava. What is the denotation of 5? Okay. Yeah.
Doesn't adding yoatzim reduce the sod?
That's a good question. Right. Doesn't increasing the number of yoatzim, I guess I'll just say run the risk, right? Of revealing the sod. Yeah. That's a great question. I feel like that's a you want tension in the pasuk because that points to ideas. Yeah, Sean.
How do the yoatzim establish whatever it is
Right.
that we're talking about in the first half.
Right. How do rov yotzim? And I'm saying rov yotzim because that it doesn't say that yotzim per se, but how do rov yotzim result in establishing the machshava in the first half? Yeah, this Ezra.
In what sense are the machshavos hafered?
Yeah. What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to do this. Yeah, in what sense are the machshavos? I also don't know how to conjugate nefar. No, it's not thwarted. Yeah. Thwarted. Yeah. Yeah.
And how are they thwarted by not having secret counsel?
Right. And how? I'll combine these, even though they're two different questions. How and in what sense are the machshavos thwarted without a sod? Yeah, David? Okay.
Is the reason why it says assuming sod means secret without secret as opposed to like publicly or something to say in the positive?
Good question. So let's actually just make that into a practical question about what does be'ein sod mean, and then why is expressed in the negative. Yeah. Let's put this here. What exactly does be'ein sod mean? And then like why is this expressed in the negative instead of the positive? And positive would be like in public, right? Or when publicized. Yeah. Yeah, Isaac.
What does hafer mean? Is it that they just don't come to fruition, or is it something?
Yeah.
Or is it something more active happen?
Did we not?
Like
Number 2 is kind of.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I'll say. Okay, I'll just add the question. What does hafer mean? Yeah. What does hafer mean? Yeah, Sean.
In what sense are they established?
Right. In what sense are they established? I also think, I don't know. I mean, I guess we do use the word established for machshavos. Like, what's the pasuk we always say in davening in Pasuk Zimra? Rabos machshavos levish v'atas Hashem hisakum. Right? We don't say that in English. We don't say that your plans are established. Like plans established would mean that the plans are set, but not that they succeed. But I feel like in Hebrew it means like we say like they reach kiyum. Yeah, David.
What about the middleman? Like if you have sod but not rov.
Right. Okay, that's a good question here. What about the middleman? What if you have sod but not rov yotzim? Yeah.
Group of 4.
Group of 4?
Like no, sorry. Like the question before is.
Oh, yeah. Right, correct. Yeah. Sean.
What is the scenario here? Is this particular to specific occurrences of establishing thought, or all?
Right. Yeah, and this is going to be very, very tied up with the question of what type of machshava are we dealing with. Isaac.
What if you get bad advice? Like let's say when Haman has all of his friends and family come and give him advice, and they give him bad advice.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to throw this in here. What about bad advice? I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, right.
Could be, but
yeah. So is that like the chair thing? Like, is there a chair if you're not sitting on it? Only the no true yoites fallacy. Yeah. Ezra?
Who's the audience here?
Yeah.
It's like they're king.
Right. Who is the audience? Right. Clearly, it's someone who is involved in planning, but like, is this for a specific kind of advice seeker / planner? Let's just quickly remind ourselves of the context here, in case that matters. Sorry, we're in a new section. I forgot, right? So I'm taking what's his word for it, right? Yeah. Then chacham yisamach al ksil adam pose imo. So a wise son brings joy to his father, but a fool of a man disparages his mother. Ivela simcha lachasar lev v'ish tavuna yiyasher lachas. The foolishness, joy is foolishness to a person who lacks heart, but a man of understanding will walk straight. Then our pasuk, Hafer Machshavos Bein Sod Rov Yotzim Takum. Then we go back to Simcha. Simcha Li'ish B'Ma'ane Piv V'Davar V'Ito Matov. Yeah, so there's no obvious like social category that this person's pointing to, like a king or anything like that, but it's still worth asking the question. Yeah.
Why do you assume it's talking about the context of, let's say, making a plan or even advice or counsel? More generally, to me at least, it sounds like thoughts or even ideas or even philosophies that are not grounded in, let's say, like in getting like various inputs from counsel, if you will,
yeah,
friends, family, etc. Those can be nullified rather quickly or with ease. But ones that are established and built through advice and can be reformed.
Right. Okay, so I think there's two answers to that question. The first one I'm less certain about, but I do rely on it, which is that I think Machshavah, I'll read the place where I get this from, and I realize this is not the best source, but this is something that like, because I'm relying on a Judeo-Arabic, but I think this is just the first place I saw it. And I think I'm going to say this, not like, don't treat this as though there's an actual source, this next thing I'm about to say, but look for it, which is that I think there is a book by one of the Ibn Tibones who defines this term. I think I might have seen that there, but in the Rambam Shmona Prakim, when he's going through the faculties of the soul, and he talks about the rational faculty in the first parak, he says, so the rational faculty is what we call the rational faculty. That is the faculty through which a person comprehends. Uboti hachashiva, and that is the faculty that has chashiva. Okay, so that's the shoresh. Uvohu kone es hamadayim, and that's how he acquires sciences, or however you want to say madayim. Okay, ubohu mavyo ben harav tov min hapulos, and that's what he uses to differentiate between bad and good in actions. All right, v'ha'pulos halalu. So these actions, mihem ma'asi umihem iyuni. Okay, so there are the actions of the mind can be differentiated into practical, distinguished. What do you call it? Divided into practical actions and theoretical actions. Ma'asi is practical, iyuni is theoretical. V'ma'asi, and then in ma'asi, mimenu malachti, mimenu machshavti. Okay, so he says there is malachti, which is let's say knowing the craft of metallurgy or basket weaving or baking, whatever, and then machshavti means like how to execute the plans. So again, I'm not saying that this is a proof, but this is how I got the idea that machshava means actionable thought, basically. So that's one thing. But the stronger proof is the second half of the puzzle, is yoetz, is that we're talking about like advising. And so it would not make sense to me that like advising is definitely practical. You don't say like, I need advice on a svara, like, like that's just called thinking, So the fact that the second half is talking about plans being fulfilled, about practical thoughts being fulfilled, implies, and the first half has hafer, which is also like typically practical, to me suggests that Machshavah is practical. So that's why I'm going there. Yeah, Isaac?
Is this true?
Is this true? Good question. Okay, so is this true? And to what extent, right? So just, I know I say this a lot, but I'm going to just say it again, is that I'm going to read it again. Okay, hold on, because I always like to reinforce this, and I find it faster each time. Ibn Kasbi's second פירוש, right, says, V'da od ki gezeros ze hasefer stamios. You should know that the sentences in this book are unqualified. Rutoni, meaning she'ein ba'am choma, that they don't have any limitation. They're unqualified. V'kavana, barov elu she'em kololos. Most of them are stated as universals. Ki kavanaso ba'amro ben chacham, kol ben chacham. Right? So when it says ben chacham, it means every ben chacham. V'chein hakavana beruvam she'em efsharios me'odios. And in the intent in most of them is that they are high probability. And even though there are psukim in this book that are not high probability, so you should still treat them as like equal possibilities. Or some of them are like not improbable, but like low probability. Some of those it will explicitly say yesh. Yesh misasher Vein colon doesn't say Vein cedar. Yeah, fine. So in other words, what Isaac is saying, Chas v'shalom, Isaac is saying that Shlomo would teach us false ideas. I mean, I know Isaac's question was probably like, can we actually like be convinced of this with our own minds? But I'm explaining to what extent. Meaning, is this always true? Most of the time, true in some cases. Yeah.
Actually, I have a strong enough question to the I feel this question strongly to the point where I maybe have an idea that's opposite the pasuk.
Okay. Yeah, David.
Different. Is it possible to translate it as being sowed, like with like a non-counsel to say like a counsel that's like poor counsel?
Interesting. With a non-counsel.
Like ein sowed as being one term.
Isn't that the Kabbalah sphere? No, or not the sphere, whatever it is. Yeah, no. Okay.
I feel like we have seen before like ein something as being one term.
That's interesting. I'm just looking to see if there's a what do you call it? Makaf? What's the little dash called? The ein sod. Okay, it doesn't. I don't know if that would prove anything. Anyway, I was just looking.
If they translate that then as that plans are nullified with bad counsel or like a non-counsel and with many advisors, then it will be established.
The ein sod as like with non-counsel. Yeah, the only reason I'm not, I think maybe if you had an idea that was inspired by that but fit into the normal reading, I'd be more open to it. I feel like just reading the pasuk that way does not seem like a good reading.
I have some, not fully formed.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I'd be more open to that as like a poetic, stylistic flourish, but without counsel as a shot. Like I would be hard pressed to say that ein sod means with non-counsel. You know, yeah. Okay, are we ready for ideas? Isaac, you want to say your false idea? No. You want to say the idea you're saying just to create opposition? Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to say that this pasuk is really talking about a person's havamina.
One of those. Oh, that kind of false thing. Okay, right. So let me just explain. Okay, there is a category of psukim in Mishlei where it is. You could call them sarcastic psukim if you want, but it's expressing what the fool thinks, not what actually is true. And I'm just going to really quickly quote I think the first time we established that this was a thing. Do you remember where it was, Isaac? I think you were still in Monday Night Mishlei at the time.
It was in 18. That was, it was
Kiryas Uzo? Hon Asher Kiryas Uzo?
Hon Asher Kiryas Uzo.
Yeah, okay. I remember it was in the first year. That's how I remember, but I thought it was 10. Okay. Kiryat. Yeah. Hon Asher Kiryat Uzo. Ukachoma Nizgava Bamaski So. So the wealth, the wealth of a rich man is his fortress of strength, and like a tall wall, I forgot how to translate Moskowitz. So, okay. Well, that definitely says it, but I don't think that was the shot in his imagination. And someone said this outright that this was a expressing the false idea. Is this it? Yes, right. So the Ibn Kospi says, oh, so when you first read it, you're like, really? Wealth protects you? Like, didn't this guy read Koheles? You know? So he says, after it mentions what is a truly Migdal Oz, that's the Shem Hashem. We all know that if you're going to invest, don't invest in wealth, invest in the Shem Hashem. Yizkor ata mashu Migdal Oz l'hamon haskalim. Now it's mentioning what is a tower of strength for the foolish masses. So Isaac is saying that's this kind of pasuk here. So it's saying what the fool thinks. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the fool thinks, advice is good. So if I have no advice, my it's not going to work. And the more advice I get, the better it's going to be. So if I have a lot of advisors, my plan's definitely going to succeed.
Okay, but if I have a lot of advice, it will definitely succeed.
Yeah. I'm not saying that obviously I think the first part is true, but
right.
But it's the
right. Just thinking that quantitatively having a lot of advice is automatically going to guarantee success, and then that also like reflects what Ezra Fader was saying, which is like, what if it's bad advice? Meaning like Kamash Milan, advice is only good if it's good, right? Like the quantity, or even the like act of consultation doesn't make it automatically good. It's like people, there's the concept of you have to do your due diligence, but it's not the doing of the due diligence that like makes it good. It's like the due diligence will lead you to truth, and like that will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have more of this. Yeah, and I think that's why that's why it says rov yoatzim and not rov etza, because it's many people giving you advice.
Okay.
As
Rov yoatzim, not rov etza.
And I think
he thinks that the people will the consultation of people will make this will make his plan succeed.
Yeah, and I think that this is what I think one of the reasons why this backfires is because everyone's going to have different thoughts, and then because he's using because he's not trying to use the counsel to get truth, he's trying to use the counsel as a good in and of itself. Then he's gonna then he wants to just rely on what the counsel he's getting, but everyone's saying different things.
Right.
I think you see this with, let's say, like with parenting advice. Everyone has parenting advice, and it's all over the place. I
think that's a good example. Just another example of this is democracy, right? I mean, this is the fallacy of democracy, which is that that like if that the voice of the people is the voice of God, and like if you just get what the majority of people think is good, then that's automatically going to be good. But that's I remember I think there's I almost said episode. There's a article of from the Getting It Straight from the King of Rational Thought, where I think it's about democracy. Let me see if I can find it. Getting It Straight. Oh, not getting it done. Getting it straight. Okay, hold on. I hate Bing. Oh, there we go. See, now it shows up. Getting it straight. Oh, I can't search this one. It's a bad format. Is there a democracy? Yeah, democracy 61. I don't know if that's the PDF page numbers. 61 is here. Right. So I'm not going to read the story part of it, even though that's cheesy. Right. So I just want to read this example here. Right. Right. So the King of Rational Thought says, it sounds like your company has taken the most treacherous of turns, the decline into democracy. I don't follow you, I said, slowing for a stop. Like, you make it sound like democracy is a bad thing. Tell you what, he said, can I ask you a question? Sure. Suppose a nuclear power plant has a serious problem that could lead to a meltdown, but they've had some warning. They have 1 hour to make a decision about what action to take. What do you think would be the best approach? To gather the entire power plant staff, from engineers to security guards to janitors, and vote on a plan of action, with each person getting an equal vote? Or do you think it'd be better to turn the problem over to the senior nuclear engineers and let them decide what to do? Right. So like that's the just because you ask a lot of people does not mean that you're gonna have good advice, and could even result in bad advice if you're going by the rov. And that's another good deal, right? Is that likewise, this is the emphasis on rov, right? Majority does not always equal correctness. Yeah, Ezra?
The question?
Yeah.
Do you have a right to make this type of move without any indication from the pasuk or context?
I mean,
it's like any pasuk I don't like, I could just say, oh no, that's a havamina. Very easy to
yeah. It's a good question. It's a good question. You have a right to make this move without. I mean, I think it's always going to come from in Mishlei. It's always going to come from your analysis of what the truth value of what the pasuk is saying. Like in that kiras uzo thing. I mean, there you can have an indication because it's kiras uzo.
Oh, right.
Right. So there is an indication. I'm trying to think if I've seen any recent ones where one of the meforshim says this, but it's not obvious. Yeah, and the reason why I'm thinking like is you do get people who the times when we have seen this, the meforshim do debate on whether it is giving you the good advice or the bad advice. Right. So yeah, it's a good question. I say in Mishlei, by the way, because in Koheles, then you can rely on code words sometimes of Amar Belibo, or Tartiani Belibi or something like that. Yeah. Ezra, did you have something? No. Okay,
Just
so
about
yeah,
that question, I think that kind of lines up with my idea about this. That it's not just like you can't just like what Pesach said, don't be a sponge.
yeah, right. I like how he ended here like that.
Yeah.
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 There is a possible indication from our context, though, right? Oh, there's 15. Oh, now I smell the blueberry. Yeah, no, someone mentioned blueberry the other day. I was like, I've never smelled blueberry coffee creamer, but like that's very strong blueberry. Yeah.
It's not creamer though.
Or creamer, what is it?
Just straight black coffee.
Oh, all right, good. I mean, better. Okay, we have the last pasuk, Ivelis simcha lechasar lev v'ish tumah yashar laches. So you could say that this is going off of the chasar lev,
Right.
That's the context is setting that up, And then similarly, simcha leish b'ma'aneh piv, people find joy in their own statements. So you could create the argument based on the context. Well, I guess we'll have to see for sure. Yeah, but it's a good question though. I'm not dismissing the question. I think David said it earlier. Yeah.
Different read.
Sure.
Does have to go with the alternative translation. That Machshavah don't stand with Insod. So I think that a person oftentimes will be smart to go for advice and maybe get like one or two things. I think oftentimes if they hear one thing and they run with it, it's because that was appealing to them. But that means they actually didn't really get much advice. And that's not going to stay. So that means they're just doing what they want to do anyway. And really the best way to actually have whatever your plan is like come to fruition to be successful is to go to multiple people and to hear out multiple different things, multiple aspects. Some things you're probably not going to necessarily love at first glance. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to help make a successful plan. Okay, so let me try getting the idea first, which is that that sometimes people make the mistake of like, latching on to a to the first plan they encounter. Okay, even if they ask for minimal advice. But that's not really like taking counsel. You can only like consider your plan to be under counsel if you consult many people, and even if they all give you advice you ultimately disagree with, you now have alternatives to consider against your initially preferred plan. Is that, yeah? Yeah, and then so one other thing that just to clarify why I think this happens a lot is that people go for a second opinion when they don't like the first opinion. Mm-hmm. So here the person already liked the first opinion, so he just said, okay, great, I'm set, I got good counsel. Yeah. You didn't actually get counsel then. Right. People go for a second opinion when they don't like the first opinion. But in this case, the guy is not going for a second opinion because he likes the first opinion. Yeah, that's a very common version of the mistake, right? In other words, the policy people follow without realizing it is I will seek advice until I find something I like, or which makes sense to me. But in reality, like there is a benefit in exposing yourself to many avenues of advice to provide, contrast and possibly reveal shortcomings in your plan. So you should davka seek a second opinion when you like the first opinion. Okay, that's a good. I think that's a good piece of advice. Yeah. Any additions to this first? No. Okay, so let's go Ariel and then Sean. Yeah.
Okay, my idea. I think the subject of the pasuk is someone who wants to actually seek advice. Yeah. Yeah. The question is, all right, how do you do it? Like I think there is like a specific methodology in doing it. And like the first half of the pasuk and the secret in the brackets, I'm gonna have that idea in there too. With I think that like if you seek open counsel, I think that could also be destructive. Mm-hmm. Because I think everyone wants to have their own opinion. I think you have to be selective with who your actual counsel is. because that's when you really get things done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the second half of the pasuk it's more of like, it's not like it's not really where you're looking to make decisions, but it's more about you're looking for general feedback from the or from, like, you know, the people, and you're going to take them into consideration, but your decision making will be really with the council. And the reason why it's important is because if you have everybody, you know, that's similar thing to like the like if you have everyone's if you have everyone's idea, and like if they think, oh, this is really a decision making process, everyone's gonna have their own ideas. It's gonna be very chaotic and it's gonna be very destructive because nothing's gonna get done.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do it in a controlled environment, like in a secret council, where like, okay, you have rules and specific ways of going about making decisions, you know, then it's more safe and more controlled.
Something's not clicking. Well, maybe this is okay. So you're saying that plans are thwarted without a secret council, meaning that you should have a secret council.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Right. Let me. I just somehow missed that first step. Okay, so Ariel is saying that I'm gonna say sometimes, because I don't know if this is a total universal, but like sometimes you need a select a secret council, i.e. a select group that you consult in order to obtain to figure out viable plans.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's to maximize efficiency in your in the process of making decisions.
Yeah. Okay. And then say the second half again.
The second half of the pasuk, it's not strictly about making decisions. It's about gathering feedback.
Which, first of all, are you saying that hold on a second. So the first half is expressing a mistake.
Yeah.
And the second half is it saying the correction to that mistake, or is it saying just another way to, like, another situation or another way to get advice?
Yeah, because there are two things. There's gap. I think it's your second one. I think it's like an additional way. It's not to rectify the mistake.
Similarly.
Yeah, it's necessary. You want to have a lot more ideas, because you never know where a good idea will come from, because you can't just rely on a secret council. You have to gather a lot more data, a lot more facts, get a lot more feedback, and it'll be established because you never know where it'll come from.
Right.
And then you take those ideas and then you consult them with your secret council.
Yeah.
To make that decision, because you can't do that. You can't make a decision with abundant advisors. It's a very chaotic.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I want to just ask a question here, which is when does each apply? I'm reminded of the advice that I feel like I've heard several authors say, which is you want your let's say, like, you're a fiction author, you want as many people to read it as possible so they can tell you what's wrong with it, but you don't want to rely on them for how to fix it.
Yeah.
Because you're the author. Like, you're the author, you know how to write more than they do, and yet somehow they can spot things that you think are good. So I feel like there is a real distinction here.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, I do want to develop this idea further, but I just want to hear out all the ideas first, and just we're running low on time. So yeah, Sean.
Yeah, so I wanted to.
We'll come back to it tomorrow.
Talk about. I think the pasuk is talking about a particular type of machshavah.
Okay.
Which is where the person is trying to make radical change.
Okay.
And it's saying that if you don't, in terms of trying to enact your plans, if you don't do it discreetly, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So then you'll ultimately end up butting against the wrong people, and it will ultimately fail because it got nipped in the bud before any people could come and adopt it and any change could possibly be made. And at the same time, a person needs to work with the right people and get this abundance. And it's only once they get the abundance of people that they'll ultimately be successful in what they're doing. So it's talking about like the contrasting tension between wanting to get a bunch of people on board with whatever it is that you're trying to do, and making sure that you do it with the right people in the right way, not running into the wrong people. So it needs this discreteness in order to actually be successful.
Okay, so what I like about this idea, this approach, is that I think we're assuming that the main role of the consultation was to improve the plan. But what you're saying is that the bringing of the plan to fruition through a secret council versus through an abundance of people, the support or lack of support In other words, the emphasis is not on the quality of the plan; it's on whether the plan will be hafer or takum.
Yeah, it's
right.
the nature of the counsel and how you approach making the thing successful.
So this pasuk isn't about how to construct. I don't know. That's not a good word. About the quality of the plan per se, but it's about how to bring the plan to fruition without facing opposition. And I think a good nafkamina case is, I think this is a problem that people have, is that you can have the best plan ever objectively, but if you try to do it,
wrong circumstances,
without giving people a heads up or whatever, that's going to lead to obstacles that you could have avoided if you had consulted with people. So in other words, the act of consulting with people, I mean, this is almost a halakha b'drachav based on several Rashis. There's all the Rashis that talk about how God consults with his Pamayo Shamala, with his heavenly retinue before, asking for advice. So there's two ways to learn those. There's the metaphysical way that God only does stuff through angels, and then there's the derech eretz way that you should consult with people. So the mistake that the genius makes, or that the person who knows his field better than everyone else, is I know that my thing is good, so I don't need to consult with people. Well, there's another reason to consult with people to get them on board.
Yeah, so that's part of what I'm saying. But the other part is this discreteness that you aren't doing it with the right people, in the wrong circumstances.
Right.
And people get angered or frustrated by your change that also will ultimately destroy whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Don't like being, I'm going to say, I don't know if this is the only expression, but don't like being blindsided, by radical plans, even if they're good otherwise. Ezra.
I'm not sure if this in a different idea, or if this is part of this. What I was thinking was that the reason you need a sod is that if you have too big of a council, then there's going to be someone or something that thwarts the plan. So, the secret council being you only have a few select, or maybe you have a large group of people that you consult individually, and everyone only knows one part of the plan that constructs a perfect plan, let's say, because no one can thwart the whole thing, no one knows about the whole thing, only you know the plan. But others help get you there from
who knows part of it, or the real thing also is is individually trustworthy, right? Meaning having lots is not bad, if they're trustworthy, and also they don't somehow the collective knowledge of it. If people treat it as a public thing, that's really where the problems start, I think.
Even if these trustworthy individuals collaborate together, then you'd have a problem. That's why you want each of them to be separate. Okay,
that's good. Moshe?
I think this pasuk could be addressing or teaching different qualities of advice. Meaning to say, the pasuk says hafer machshavos be'ein sod. So why does it say with be'ein sod? I'm going to say there's 3 levels here. So if you don't take any advice, then the plan gets thwarted. And I'm going to say that's obvious. So the person that this is addressing knows that. So they take counsel, and the first level of counsel is just someone that can think outside of themselves and see things that they are missing. And this is usually going to at least be obvious things that will totally thwart the plan.
Right.
So now the plan will be going. But I'm going to say that the second half of Rov Yotzin Takum, be established, is an extra quality. That's not just the plan works, it's going to be very efficient. So if you get a lot of advice, so not only are they going to point out major flaws, they're going to be able to refine it and make it a lot more efficient. And that is the chiddush, because I'm saying the havamina is a guy just looks at it okay, either this plan doesn't have advice and I'm just basing on my perspective, or I get external perspective. But it's saying no, there are degrees even within external advice that I can have one person, but I can get a lot of people, and that's going to have it.
I like this. I have an affinity for levels in Mishlei Podcast. Okay, good. All right, so we've got a lot of good ideas here, so let's let it percolate. And I do especially want to revisit. I'm going to highlight this. We revisit Ariel's tomorrow because I think that's the one that we didn't flesh out as much, but needs to be fleshed out. And then we'll see what the meforshim say. Okay, good. Nice pasuk. Yeah, thanks.